hey, everybody, this is not Rochester After Dark magazine. It's Carnival of Randomness, and it's
Boing.
still Rob. And I've been hearing that term so much, but because the anesthesia is still getting to me and I'm not all 100%, and I'm not really interesting, we have our guest panel of experts, quote and quotes. We have our second banana, of course, our drummer extraordinaire, Greg.
When do I get to be first banana?
If I would have died a few months ago, you could have been. It would have been fine. And we have back again, fresh off the interview with Alyssa, Paul.
Hey, hi everybody.
Last name, Paul W.
Paul W.
Oh, W.
W.
That was
And
a
we are
fun
very,
interview.
very thrilled.
Taking back the W.
Yeah, there's so much great talent in Rochester. Somebody who's been around a long time. She's really great, and we're really blessed to have her. We have Connie Deming, and she's playing piano with her hands
Hi,
here.
Connie.
Making a joke.
Connie.
Hi.
So the first thing is, if anybody out there can help, where was your first gig you said that we couldn't figure the name out for?
Oh, man.
Maybe somebody could help.
I used to have this really cool memory that worked really well, but it left me. They unplugged it about 5 years ago, I think.
Well, I remember you
think
from
it
the
was
Cottage
the gas
Hotel and things like that
Oh,
back
okay.
in the old days.
Well,
so to
okay.
speak.
So I was looking around for a band because I didn't have any confidence in my playing ability, but I love to sing always. And I found this. Remember Ken McNeil?
Oh,
This
yeah.
little guy. Okay. So Ken suggested that I audition a bunch of bands, and after 2 or 3, it was clear that they weren't after what I had, and I certainly didn't like what they were doing.
Was
for,
that
for me?
Senior, Ken McNeil Senior,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah. He worked with Vic Platty. When I played with Vic Platty's band, he was like
Yeah.
the guy that booked Vic's band.
Yep.
Okay, anyway.
So one night I was at I think it was the Gaslight at Eastview Mall.
Okay.
Remember that place?
Yes.
It was a steakhouse, and you walk in, and you're looking at a long, like a shoebox of a room horizontally, and the bar's in front of you, and the people are seated along the bar, and it was a weird way to play because the singer was facing the bar, and all
Right.
these people were, how's that sound going to sound to them on the far left and far right? But anyway, this guy was playing John Denver songs, and I thought, well, heck, I can do that.
Right.
He's
Did they
got a
fill up your
job.
senses like
He's
Night in
got
the
a
Forest,
job
maybe?
here. Nah,
I
it
know
was
those chords.
So I went up. Yeah, I knew all 4 of those chords. So I went up to the bartender, and I asked if they were hiring me, coming up, that could I come in and audition or something. He goes, yeah, come in tomorrow at 11. So I did,
Wow.
and he gave me a month of gigs, and that was my first
Wow.
gig. And then after that, I had this wonderful gig at the Americana Townhouse through Ken
I remember both
by
playing there, yeah.
myself, and it was so cool. They hired you from Monday through Friday,
Yep.
and you played from 5 to 7 and again from 9 to 11, and they gave you a room and they gave you dinner. They gave you
yeah.
a room while you were there to change in and
There
go
used to
hang
be
out.
budgets.
And it was the best. And Friday night, I didn't have to do the 9 to 11, so I was all done at 7 for the whole. What musician had a weekend open?
I know it.
And they paid
That's
you
right.
something like, I don't know, $425 a week. So I was thrilled. This is 1976.
Oh, yeah.
So
Well,
I,
yeah.
Oh, that's really
Well, see,
good.
that's the
I
thing.
was
All
happy.
the clubs back then, there was this whole scene here. Like, I mean, obviously you had to be around then, but it was just like that. You played like Tuesday to Saturday,
Yeah.
or you played Wednesday to Saturday. Sometimes they'd have, but it was like always this: you set your stuff up, you play 4 or 5 nights, you're done.
Yeah.
And then you did that. You didn't have to screw around, and you got paid decent money.
What a concept.
Well, there used to be an actual entertainment scene here.
Yeah.
I know where I've seen it. I'm not going to say names, but I remember one bar, they had a band come in from Winnipeg to play. They were going to pay him they didn't even pay him, and they drove all the way in from Winnipeg.
Wow.
So that's how it is. But how is being on the scene so long? What would you say, again, to contrast a little when you started to how? How is it like sort of different instead of the same?
Now, you mean?
Well,
How is it different
now and then.
Well, I'm 73, and my hand doesn't play guitar. I got this weird thing. My hand doesn't play guitar. I lost the ability to pick and to write, but I can still play piano, and I can, knit. And I find that I want things easier now than I used to lug my own equipment, and I want ease now. So I've fallen into the ease of the Little Theater Cafe with Scott Regan and Steve Piper, and we play together. And I'm the luckiest person. I sit between them. They play their guitars. I get to harmonize with them, sing with them, and walk over to the Steinway that sits there and sit down at it and play it when I feel
You're
like
the Bob Dylan now, because when I saw Dylan, saw Dylan a couple years ago, and again with Bob, I've seen him when he's been very bad. I've seen him when he's very good. He was at the Auditorium Theater. It was 2018. Yeah. He was very good, but he's just playing keyboard now because I guess like he has some problems.
Really?
He can't play guitar anymore.
I don't know what happens, but
he sits on the bench. The thing is, he turns the bench lengthwise to sit on it for some reason because he's Dylan.
Yeah.
Not a word to the audience at all either.
That's
of course,
funny.
He nodded to the crowd after like the end of the show. That was it.
What a guy.
But it was a great show. But I'm glad I saw him. That
must be nice to get away with that. Hi, I'm going to be really rude and charge you a lot of money.
Greg, funny you say that because after that, I guess he stopped the concert because somebody took a picture, and he said we can either pose or play, and he walked off the stage. Hey, he's Bob Dylan. He can do what he wants.
I know. Reminds me when I was 9 years old, we used to love the Harry Belafonte and Carnegie Hall album, and he goes, "Don't turn your back on the masses, man." I never forgot that.
I love Harry Belafonte. He's one of the best vocalists there is. But I always ask creative people, it's like, creative people create. How did you decide at what age that, wow, I want to get into this stuff. I want to do some art. I want to do...
Well, that was easy because when I went to college, I felt I had three choices. You could be a nurse, a secretary, or a teacher. There was no nurse for me. No. And forget the secretary part. No. So I guess that means I got to be a teacher. Wonderful reason to go to college. And so I applied at a bunch of colleges and got into Framingham State, Massachusetts, where I lived near. I lived in Plymouth when I went to high school.
It rocked.
And it
Sorry.
Plymouth Rock, yeah. So I hated teaching. I found out really fast that everyone told me how great I was with kids, what a great teacher I'd make, right? I had zero ability to behavior manage anybody. Forget it. And the kids, they feel that. You walk in and you think you're being strong and you're going to just turn this strong button on, and they're going to all listen to you. Well, I swear they knew who I was inside, and they'd almost like unbidden start fidgeting. Here she comes. And it went from bad to worse.
Yeah, they're like once they sense any weakness, they're relentless.
They turn into a room full of drummers.
Yeah.
I subbed for 2 years. I get it. I know.
God, I subbed for a while. Yeah. So I finally, after 5 years of nervous breakdown, and I didn't think I had a fearful bone in my body, but that was just hell. And I was being driven to a gas station coming home from my last day of, crying in the principal's office and saying, "Sorry, I'm not coming back in January. I'm done here. I'm done." And he tried to talk me and told me all the things that I did so well. I said, "If I don't have a policeman or you standing in the doorway while I'm teaching, I'm not going to go back in that room."
Right.
And he laughed. I said, "I'm serious." So it was snowing that day.
East Rochester kids were the worst ones for me.
Oh,
Everyone
God.
else were good because I used to teach in Fairport and Greece. I had a lot of good districts.
Yeah.
The kids were mainly interested, but boy, you had some moments.
And they were impossible for me. I just thought I'd have nightmares. What do I do about this? I couldn't sleep. So I'm driving home in the snow. A little bit of snowflakes is coming down, and I get a flat tire in Canandaigua somewhere. And this guy helps me and takes me to garage. And on the way, the 5-minute ride, he says, "So what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I just left a teaching job." And he said, "Well, what do you love to do?" I said, "I love to sing. I love music." He goes, "Well, guess what? I know this woman in Clifton Springs who just left her job because she was miserable, music teacher." Well, I got this job, and I walked into it, and for a couple of years, I really enjoyed teaching something I understood.
Yeah.
2 different classes every hour, so you screw up with the first hour, and you can fix it with the next.
Yeah, wow.
So that worked out well, but I didn't want to stay in teaching after a couple of years, and I bought my first sound equipment from Dixie-Carey.
What was it?
Oh, Dixie-Carey, yeah.
What was your first equipment?
Somehow I got directed to Dixie-Carey at Multisonus. And I walk in, what was Dick, like 5'2", and as wide as he was tall, right?
Yeah,
and he
big
looks
guy.
up, he goes, Christ, you're tall. That's how I met Dick.
Yeah, he was funny. I remember going to a dinner thing with him once. He was a riot.
Oh man,
Nice guy.
One night a bunch of us went out after a Don Potter show and went to the Hojo's at 12 Corners.
Oh yeah.
And for breakfast, we walk in. It's 45 minutes before we even get a menu, and then it's another half hour before she comes around. And Dick looks up at the waitress and goes, "Hey, I remember you. I remember you when we first came in here, when you were just a little kid."
Right.
Anyway.
I know. I mean, we were all playing in bars probably before we were able to.
Yeah.
We were like legally able to.
I always got into scorages because of my brother. I always got into scorages when I was underage. Nobody cared back then. You might have got thrown out of the window by scorage if you said the wrong thing, but you got in.
Yeah.
And it was different back then.
But I remember when when we all started, but I remember starting to see your name around, and like I said, the Cottage Hotel. I mean, I know there was that whole little scene and singer-songwriter stuff. And
Yeah, once in a while.
And I know,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, you were just always seemed to be part of it.
Yeah, once
You were always
somebody
around.
would, I don't know how it happened, but somebody, I guess, like they say, when you fall into what you were born to do,
Yeah.
things happen. Maybe nothing big really happened much for me, but I always found somebody. I didn't have to go poking around and looking. Somebody would come and say,
Right.
"Hey, can you play at the blah blah blah?" And
Yeah.
it was nice.
Well, if they know you, and if you can fake that you enjoy it, then
Yeah, I still do. But what I don't, when people started calling me and asking me to play at their weddings and parties and stuff, and they'd say, "What do you charge?" And I would be serious, and I would say, they never believed me, but I would say, $1,000 to set up equipment, and I'll sing for free.
yeah, right.
They'd laugh. I said, "I'm not kidding." Well, they never paid me $1,000, but
Every now and then you might get somebody who's like, "Oh, she's singing for free. We have to get her. She's a
Yeah, I know.
bargain. She's a bargain."
I just set up $800 worth of stuff, so there you go.
I know. We're nuts.
When did you start writing?
Good question. I started writing when my son, I have one child and he's autistic. He's 37 now, and I started writing then. And also because people used to ask me, to do these songwriter things, and I'd say, well, I do everybody else's songs. And that's what I'd been doing, requests for years. And I would take them, and somehow I would fake them, on the spot, and people liked it. So I didn't think I needed to be writing. I didn't think I had a strength there, but I always loved poetry. I always loved Joni Mitchell and the Beatles and Bob Dylan, and so I tried my hand at it when he was about 4 years old. That would have been 1989. Started trying to write some songs. And then it was, once in a while, I'd get lucky. It hasn't happened in about a year. But that's, I think, how the inspiration
I think
started.
we go.
That's
It
cool.
depends on the person, because
He
I know,
doesn't
like
speak.
Kim Draheim, my friend Kim Draheim, what he would say to me, he would do a lot of covers, especially with Static Cling, like White Rabbit and everything, and he would say, I can write maybe 4 good songs a year, but there's all this great stuff out there, music for everybody.
Yeah.
Greg writes good songs, but you write maybe 1 a year, 2 a year.
Yeah, I don't.
Then
I'm
you
not
have
a big writer.
You have Alyssa Trahan, who writes like 200 a year.
Right.
So,
Yeah, it's a hobby for me.
and it's like, do you think you can? Has this become a big conversation piece the last couple of days for some reason? Is it really innate, the ability, or is it mostly if you work hard at it, can you get it out? Or I think it's more of a natural ability. I think like people, little of half, depends who you are.
Yeah, well, sometimes you just get an idea, a phrase, you get a chord pattern, something's rolling around your head, and it's like it won't let go, and you just have to sort of, you got to start messing around with it.
Yeah.
And then that leads to something else. Okay, now I got to have more lyrics. Oh, now I got to have more chords, and you just kind of keep going.
I use the
I
Greg
think that's
Townsend
true.
example.
And you listen a lot.
Right.
And read a lot.
The Greg Townsend examples about like sparks on the highway. Where did it come from? He saw somebody throw a cigarette out of his car at night.
There you
one
go.
night.
See? Yeah.
ATM inside. He saw a sign ATM inside. And I do read a lot. That's the thing. But I just can't write poetry for squat.
I think you have to be not a linguist, but you got to be into the way words
Sound.
work together.
Yeah.
And like that's why I like all that old vaudeville
Impressive use of the
humor.
word linguist, by the way, for a drummer.
Yeah, that's fancy. More than one syllable.
We get them smart on here.
Entomology, the study of words.
So study of bugs.
Etymology.
Well, no, because I was talking to this guy the other day, and we started talking about expressions, and he started talking to me about like the whole 9 yards, where that came from, and apparently it was an Air Force thing with the guns on the airplane, and if you shoot them all, it's a 9 yard span.
It's 9 yards of
yeah.
The coil of.
Yeah, and flash in the pan had to do with the old guns when you had to put the powder in and the flint, and it hits the pan and it sparks, and so it's a flash in the pan. And so, I mean, we were talking about all these kind of things. So I think, that way, if you understand where things come from, and English is the best thing for that. Because you can't do word humor in other languages.
It's like Garrison Keillor when he moved to Denmark with his wife.
Yeah.
And he said, I can barely speak the language, let alone be funny in it, right?
Right.
And so it was so, I mean, nobody talks about it now because he's me too, but
I like him.
But yeah, it was interesting to hear him talk about how it just him too, right? And
I literally, this is like one of those horrible timings where literally I got a copy of the Best of Garrison Keillor. Then a couple days later, I find out he's what he is. So,
our best friends were going to see him down in Ithaca, and they took a picture of them under the marquee where it said "canceled." Because that was his last. That was supposed to be his next gig, but it's back to once this happens to somebody, I still feel you can enjoy their art, right?
Yeah.
Because they made good art, and the art's out there, and
that's right.
It's one of those questions that would be probably too serious for this show, but it's like the artist and the art.
Right.
You separate them, and it depends on a person too, like how you feel, obviously. Like I have one friend who likes Polanski's movies, but he says I'm going to wait till he dies because I don't want to support him. But it's a personal choice. Well, it's a personal choice, though. It's a personal choice. You have your own, feelings about it and everything else. I mean, it's bad when you hear somebody's like a really terrible person whose work you enjoy.
Yeah, you find out a lot of things. The hero worship thing goes out the window.
Oh, that's so nuts. Why would anyone? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're just people. I
didn't
never
mean to
got
take
that
I
hero.
didn't mean to take this dark.
We go all over. You never know what we're going to do on this show.
That's great.
People who say we aren't serious, so there, Paul got us.
Yeah. Yin and yang.
But back to the songwriting thing. I mean, with you, it's a solitary thing, right? It's you. It's you and the words. Because when we were talking to Alyssa the other day, she was talking about write-arounds, and I'd never heard about that before. I'd heard about sing-arounds.
I had just known because I've seen some of hers.
But she said the expression in Nashville is, "Hey, let's write together sometime," right? And it's like a cliche. It's like it's Jersey. Didn't I meet you at the Wawa?
I could never imagine. Yeah, I could never imagine sitting across. In fact, I've tried it a couple times. A friend said, I'm going to come over and we're going to write a song. I'm just sitting there going blank. He's writing.
I had a problem with that too in terms of trying to do a film with somebody we were trying to film, but we couldn't. We tried to write, but we couldn't collaborate. But we'd go home and we'd have all because we couldn't do it together.
Right. That's what happened to me.
But there's a difference. Like on this show, I've done interviews by myself, but I like the feedback of having co-hosts too, because you bring a different perspective.
Yeah.
Different questions and everything, and I could fall asleep halfway through if I have to too, or if I blank. But I think it brings different people with different views.
Rob, wake up!
That I just can't. But I can't write with other people. Like when I've tried to do film scripts, I have to do it by myself.
Sure, I can't imagine that. It changes the energy. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Well, I think like a lot of times, like going back, like you can write together, like. Okay, I got this. I need the middle eight type thing, like the way the Beatles used to do it. And then you've got the turn of phrase thing, like Hard Day's Night. Ringo came up with that. That's back to the language thing. But sometimes, there's like there's no real one way to do it. There's just lots of different ways.
That's what I always say. There's the light at the end. Everybody has a different way to get there.
That's right.
I mean, it's kind of like when you do drum circle things. I can imagine it might be the same. Like one guy plays a thing, then now it's your turn. Now you got to come up with something, and then you throw it back to him.
It's called jazz, Greg. It's called jazz.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would imagine songwriting would be the same way. here's a couple lines. I need something to rhyme with this, and then you come up with your idea for. I mean,
here's one if you remember.
Kind of fun.
Connie, what was the first song you wrote then, or one of the first? You probably know your first song.
See, I think I do, and that happened when I was younger than. My son was born in '85, and I was, like, how old was I? 37. But when I was maybe 20, I wrote a little song. Oh God. Called The Rose in My Garden or something. I tried, and I used to try to sing it, but nobody cared about it. There's only one rose in my garden.
We care. Sing it.
You could plant more. One of those, the question I ask every artist on the show. So you're rolling along, you're playing, you're all happy, everything's going well. Then all of a sudden, 2020 hits. Oh. And I've always really felt sorry for my friends in the arts, and I know for many people whose just lives had to stop. And how was that adjusting to what you do for a livelihood all of a sudden? Now, you were on my concert tour list because I think you did a lot of streamings, if I remember.
I did.
You did, because I had a show. I like every day of the week I had my concerts.
I couldn't do the Zoom thing. I tried. My husband had to come in and do it for me when people.
You weren't the only one. Katie Morey was on the ceiling.
Ridiculous.
Other people would like freeze.
Technology hates me, and I keep wasting hours of my life that I'll never get back trying. But somebody else always ends up having to come in and, you just do this, But for the one thing I learned from the pandemic, technologically speaking, was that I put up a post on Facebook saying, "Help! How do I get on YouTube? How do I do it?" And Fred Vine saw that post and, bless his heart, called me up and told me step by step what to do, and it worked.
Yeah,
great.
And I still, I remember it took 24 hours to download or something, so I sort of lost, interest in it. But at least maybe, and then again, who knows if I'd be able to do it tomorrow because they keep changing it.
Well, I just discovered Google Drive. I didn't even know what the hell it was. So somebody said, you download the Google Drive and then you can email it to people. So like I have a recorder thing in my phone. So I record a lot of rehearsals and some gigs. I just set it on a table, just for my own reference recording, But then you can put it on the Google Drive thing and then you can send it out.
Wow.
And then people that are more knowledgeable than I can chop it up and edit it and all that.
That's why I have a zoomologist for the show.
I'd love to do that, but I'm afraid it's a lost cause. I get in the same room with that stuff in it.
I'm surprised I even managed once you guys send me those links. It's easy to get.
I'm pathetic. That's why I go over. Like I have a Zoom guy, and I do it over his house just because I'm lazy and I can't figure it out. But for me, I keep saying the thing. I couldn't even barely do laundry during the shutdown. Were you creative and did you adapt?
Okay, I felt like number one, I did a lot of knitting. I finished patterns that I found in the basement that I had started, and done 2 inches of, and from 1992.
I used to do Afghans, so I used to knit crochet because it was relaxing for me.
Yep, and so
I have some rugs.
Got all this stuff done that we never would have finished in the house. Okay, so you're doing that stuff, and I was driving one day last year, August, in the car, and I had just gotten Jimmy Webb's 10 Easy Pieces from 1996.
Oh, right.
Glorious, beautiful. I loved the way he sang them himself, way better than any of the other people. All his millions of songs. So I'm driving to Webster. This is a weird story. Wegmans. Because we don't like the East Avenue Wegmans at all. But anyway, so I'm driving away, and The Moon's a Harsh Mistress comes on, and the weeping starts, and I'm trying to drive, and I don't understand how someone can see through their windshield into your rearview mirror and into your car to see that you're like a mess.
Yeah.
But some guy followed me in a Jeep, followed me to Wegmans, motioned that he wants to talk to me. I roll down the window, and he goes, "I'm going to pray for you."
Wow.
What? And I said, okay.
Did your creepometer go off? Mine would have.
I was struck dumb for a second. I went, oh, okay. And he came and he took both my hands and he said some wonderful stuff that I don't know where it came from. And then he drove off. And I walked into Wegmans and suddenly it hit me. Uh-oh, COVID. He touched my hands. Uh-oh.
Right.
I hope I'm okay.
Run for the sanitizer.
Hope I'm all right. So anyway, I wrote a song about that. That was the one song I wrote all year. And it was to Jimmy Webb. And the miracles go on. Okay. I put the thing on Facebook. I look at takes all night to download. I look at or upload or whatever the word is, and I looked at it the next morning, and I had my finger on the delete button. I'm going to erase it because I was not happy with, it was a brand new raw song, and I wasn't prepared for videoing it and blah, blah. And I almost deleted it, and then I went, oh, screw it. Who's going to see this? Nobody's going to see this. Just your close friends. You don't care. You got bed hair, and,
Right.
I get a note from Fred Marlin, who produced that record, who saw it.
Oh, wow.
Fred Marlin saw it and sent it to Jimmy Webb.
Wow.
And later that day, about 2 in the afternoon, I get a comment that was written from Jimmy Webb's wife's Facebook on my page and said this beautiful paragraph about how he hasn't heard a good song in a long time and he hasn't cried. He doesn't remember the last time he cried when he heard a song.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And he said, this is what this horrible, violent disease has taken from us, the intimacy, the concert, the blah, blah. It's beautifully written, not like what I'm trying to say now. And I framed it on my kitchen wall.
Yeah, that's great. That's an honor.
But, it is an honor. And I have to recognize that it was a moment. It's never going to happen again. I recorded the song and sent him a CD of it. And I heard nothing back. So you never know where those things go. But it was a lovely moment. And that was my whole pandemic. It took me a whole year to write one song.
But that was the one song well worth writing.
Yeah.
That was like, if you had to write one song.
It was just a tribute to him. And I tried to do this Joni Mitchell type esoteric lyrics, right? Walking on the beach and listening to the water and the moonlight, and I was gagging. It was so bad. And I called a friend, and she goes, "Just tell the story. Just tell the story."
The moonlight dancing on your face.
Yeah, it was so bad. And that's what the song became, because I hadn't written a thing in, I don't know, a year and a half that I could even, stomach. So somebody says, just tell a story. So,
well, I think you got to not be your own worst critic sometimes, too, though.
Yeah.
You got to relax, too. I think let it flow.
Yeah, I mean, now there's so many people.
That's all that happens is a black wall. You
doing
go,
stuff.
Nothing's flowing.
Was it Alyssa that said that? I forgot.
I thought of For Moon is a Harsh Mistress. All I thought of was the Heinlein novel.
No. But I was thinking.
That's what inspired his title. But it's a gorgeous song. Are you familiar with this song?
No.
I'm going to play it when I get home.
See her how she flies.
I'm afraid to play it in the car, though, because I don't want somebody to give me a Bible.
No, that guy was cool.
No, but you shouldn't be afraid, because, I mean, there's so many people now just recording stuff in their room, their houses and stuff. I mean, everybody's just throwing stuff out there. Yeah. So there's more competition now. Mm-hmm. So that's the whole thing.
But it's easier to get away with a clunker once in a while.
Right, so nobody's going to really... It's kind of...
You're not going to get judged.
It's kind of the cool thing to look like, hey, I just got up and wrote this song. So you almost want to make it look as DIY as possible, because that's a thing.
God, oh no. If I tried that would fail.
If it's too slick, you got a lot of money. No.
You have an orchestra.
Need the makeup artist to give you bedhead after you've rehearsed all day.
It cost me a fortune to look like this.
Makeup. I know.
You think it's easy to look like crap?
Exactly. See, there's one poignant thing I've been thinking of, because we had our good friend Steve Lyons on here, and it's like being around the scene, and I love Steve. And
saw Steve last night.
But he made such a poignant comment. We were talking about now and then, and he said the one sad point, though, about doing this all these years is you see, like, the people who've died, been around, and I'm just thinking, I think we always that's why you have to treasure who's around and appreciate everything about all the music and everything else.
That's right.
And he really said it. Steve nailed it as always.
Yeah.
But one thing I was going to talk about, there's something about the Little. I love the Little. I'm going to be back there. I've been
great.
calling it our hot club of Cowtown from Paris in the 30s.
Ah, that's great.
But it's because I think, like, some places you go, and sadly, I always get mad because it's like background music because people are eating and they're not paying attention. People are into the music at the Little all the time. You are paying attention.
Yeah. That's true.
Except when I'm getting my coffee, I'm paying attention.
Yeah. And
I got to get out there, man. I haven't been going out like.
Well, it's on East Avenue. You just go down. It's in the thing.
Downtown, yeah.
I'm going down to see the Archive Ravens, but I haven't been there since actually the pandemic because I'm very careful with COVID.
Yeah.
Good for you.
And I'm still careful, but I trust. The thing is, too, I trust the venue.
Yeah.
Well, the Little, it's masks and vaccine, right?
Yes.
So it's a very safe place to be packed in tight, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I always feel comfortable there. But I didn't know that you were there with Stephen and Scott.
How did that come about? Actually, what was the origin story?
fun.
But how did you form this supergroup?
What?
How did you form this supergroup, the Spring Chickens?
Steven, the super group. Okay, one day, Scott Regan said to me, okay, I want to do a gig with you and Steve Piper, and let's propose to the people at the Little Cafe that we do that on the night that they never have music, which at the time was Tuesdays. And I went, well, okay. I like saying, could we at least pass a can, something? But, with Scott, it's never about the money. That's not a necessity. But it kind of is for me.
Me too.
So, it isn't about the money, but, dinner would be good.
Yeah.
So, I didn't say that. Oh, God, who's going to hear this? So,
Just friends.
So he emailed me, okay, so what should we call ourselves? And I was joking, and I said, right away, Spring Chickens? And he goes, done. And
There's a good name, too. I
We've been
like
a bunch
it.
of strutting chickens ever since. Okay, yeah, well, that's it.
That's a good story.
Buck, buck.
Well, Scott's a good galvanizer. I mean, he makes things happen.
He does.
I love Scott.
Does anybody know? Does anybody know? It's popping in my head where the name Watkins and Rapiers came from.
I know.
I think I know, but I forgot. Is it what did Will think of it?
I thought it was Steve.
Because I wonder who thought of it. Because I remember he played at our bar owner's birthday, and I just wondered where it came from.
So it's the guitar make, right?
Yeah.
The Watkins Rapier, which is the British Stratocaster, basically, and so Steve told me the story, but I thought Steve named it.
I really didn't know. I didn't know. That's why I knew there was an origin.
That's interesting.
Might have been Carrie.
I didn't know
Might
that.
have been Carrie.
But I don't
Who's
know.
I'll have to
Watkins?
get the story.
Was it?
Watkins was the Les Paul in UK.
Oh.
So it was the rock and roll guitar for the early British rock and roll scene. It was the Watkins Rapier, and they're very
Being a
collectible
sword,
now.
right? Like
It's
it's
rapier as in a sword.
Yeah, if they booed you, you pulled out the sword and the guitar. And stop.
But yeah.
Well, I thought it was an axe. Well, I guess it's a sword now. So
Yeah.
it's like the same thing, I guess. Same concept.
That's funny.
That's good. But actually, one of the recent ones, and Paul's down here too, because he was really thrilled by the John Prine tribute. How did that come about?
Oh,
How'd
that was
that go?
amazing,
How'd you get
yeah.
involved with it? You, Connie.
Oh,
you were the
me?
one. You were the one who
Me?
played. You didn't play.
I was just in the audience.
Cue to guest.
Okay.
Guest speaks now.
Okay, how I got involved was for years, right around the corner from me used to be the Flipside Bar.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to
missed the
go
Flipside.
in there once in a while on their open mic,
Yeah.
and I was really amazed at what a really nice thing happened there. Musicians came from all over the place, and it was fun to see them again. The first time I ever walked in there, I never felt the least bit uncomfortable as sitting alone by myself at a bar, and I'm sitting there. I never knew what to order because I liked Courvoisier, but I wanted to try something good and different and never knew what to order. And Beth, the owner, was sitting behind the bar, and she goes, well, what do you like? And I said,
That's Beth.
You helped us down.
I said, well, I like smooth things, not too sweet. And she goes, I know what you want. She made me an Irish coffee, but I can't drink coffee at night. It would keep me awake all night. Now, I used to use it as a nightcap when I was young.
I was an addict. I was an addict in grad school. I would just put the metal pot. It would just be pour, get the shakes from feel like bugs are crawling. I could have one more.
Yeah, well, what? My hair keeps falling out. It's awful. So
that does it in the studio.
So I hear this
Look
voice.
at Greg and me.
She hands me the Irish coffee, and I hear this voice behind me, and he goes, "I got that," and it's Joe Dady.
Oh.
And I went, "Oh my God, this is really so cool!" And that's what started. I used to go every Thursday night after that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun going.
Open mic, and so Jed Curran was one of the guys that hosted that open mic, and he called me up and asked me to do the John Prine thing. So that's how I got it.
Yeah, my friend Jeff Scherner, they invited me, but my health is just getting back to what it was, so I got to take it slow still. So I sent his wife a message saying, "I'd love to see this. I bet it's going to be really awesome." And Paul said it really was.
Yeah, we were there for night 2. It was fantastic.
What were some of the highlights?
Well, one of the highlights.
Besides Connie, who was the highlight, obviously.
Well, Connie made Steve Lyons cry, and I told you I was going to bring this up. But you talk about songs that make us.
He said that though. See, he posted this, so. Yeah. He's not shy about it.
No, he's not shy about it.
Sweet, but it's John Prine's
It was
song.
John Prine, and everybody kept saying the whole night, he never wrote a bad song, right?
No.
And he was just prolific. But to see those songs made personal to the people that sang them that night and played them, that was really special. And it was... And Jill, who's sitting around the corner here being quiet.
Yeah, hi, Jill. Hey, we have the Peanut Gallery all the way from England.
Yeah.
She
Can you hear us over there?
She didn't know John Prine, and I knew John Prine because my brother-in-law plays guitar and he sings, and he turned me on to John Prine back in the '80s, and just. I hadn't heard a lot of it since the Flip Side closed because people would sing John's songs at the Flip Side, and so I was like, "Let's go! We got to go!" We put it on the calendar, and it was the same time that we were booking that we found out about Colorblind James playing next weekend, which is going to be
this Friday.
It's Friday and Saturday.
They're sold out to the max.
Sold out on Saturday. Is it sold out on Friday as well?
I don't know. I could ask Jimmy Mack. I used to hang with him down at. Casey Jones on Sundays all the time. We'd always hang down there and have our Guinnesses.
That bar is still there.
Is it still there?
It's sold. It's actually one of my friends that just sold because I know one of the bartenders.
The first time you and I ever sat down and had a beer together was at Casey Jones. We had beer and wings on a Sunday.
Yeah, because of Snoop.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my friend Dave Bodgett, that's why I started going down and everything. Now we're all old. I don't drink anymore. I'm healthy. I do yoga. The fun days are gone. But I actually heard John Prine, where I heard him first? It had to be Saturday Night Live, like a repeat where he did Oak Trees Grow Stronger, that song, whatever it's called.
Hello in there. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's what it's called. It's about old people. Just say hello in there.
And that was your song.
Yeah.
And why did you pick that song?
Well, I always loved it for one thing. When that first John Prine record came out with the Haystack in '71, I learned every one of those songs, almost every one, and I don't even remember how I found that record, but there it was, and I loved the song. I've always played it. It's one of the ones I did during the pandemic on the YouTube thing. I played on the piano. Because my guitar has gone away, but it was kind of fun to try it on the piano. And, old trees, they just grow stronger. Old rivers grow
The one I've heard a lot because my friends used to do it all the time was In Spite of It All.
Yeah.
Which the only thing is they would...
In Spite of Ourselves.
Yeah, In Spite of Ourselves. They would change it. That's why I have my guests on, because I can't remember anything. But the only thing they would change it to vampire movies make me horny.
Convict movies.
That sucks.
Yucko!
but that's the beauty of it, I think, of being song. I think that's the thing, too, is like if you have people even come up to you and go, that song really resonated with me. That's like the awesome part when you get that feedback.
Yes.
It's like I've said that with Greg with Trailer Romance a lot of times.
Thanks, man. Well, I appreciate it.
And the one artist I didn't know that played was the guy that somebody had met at an open mic and was a friend of Jed's. He brought him up, and he did Long Monday.
Yes, Ross Falzone.
Yeah, Ross.
I think that's the one. Yeah. He's
sweet voice.
He's a good guy. Yeah. He knows everybody. I know everybody. I live in Nashville. Well,
I think. Oh, jeez. That's the other thing too. Like when you did your streaming shows, how is it different when you have no feedback from like an audience?
Oh, that's the only thing that I never had the ability to hear myself. Any gig that I've ever done, no matter where it was, outside, inside, little room, big room, sound monitors, whatever, I never could hear what they're hearing. And so something would become all loud and boomy, and it would like make me crazy, and I would look at the sound guy and go, "You know what I was talking about? What's wrong with her?" I would hear things, and so I never, ever, ever know until somebody comes up afterwards and says what they heard. And so it's an anomaly, because I used to I did a record once with Casey Filiacci, and he made the comment once, "Well, you can hear yourself, can't you?" I said, "No." "Can you?" "Oh, yeah." I said, "Well, I can't." He goes, "I just get in the zone." Well, whatever zone I get in that happens, I have no idea what's creating it, but it might not be me.
That's why I always like when somebody else sits in on drums, because then I can go out front and see what the guy's doing.
Yeah, can you ever hear what's really happening? I mean...
No. Well, I ask for stuff in the monitor a lot.
And that helps?
Kick drum and stuff, yeah.
Boy, because
It
usually
makes me
if
play
I ask for
differently,
a
though.
hair, I get a mountain.
The what?
I'll say, "Can you bring something up, a hair?" And it'll go,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And
usually
I thought, there's no nuance with these guys.
Yeah,
Except
well...
that guy at Abilene was excellent.
The guy at Abilene is really good.
Was it Greg? Was it
voices
Greg?
never get, what's the word?
The balance?
Mixed the way
mixed,
he
yeah.
did.
Yeah, he does a good job.
Because so many of these open mics, the sound guy would forget that they get it all mixed for a lot of men, and then the one woman would come up and try to sing, and nobody would tweak her mic, and she'd be buried, and it happened forever. I just got used to that. Oh, well.
A lot of times, if I'm doing sound, if I see that, I kind of go the opposite way, because a lot of women really belt it out.
Oh,
and then you got to change the EQs and things, because
Susie's
if they start
subtle,
shrieking
though,
and piercing,
that.
it's going
That's
to drive
true.
you crazy.
And the dynamics are nuts. They're whispering. They're screaming.
Yeah.
But that guy told that guy, Todd, what a wonderful job he did. And he goes, "Oh, yeah, I love women's voices." And he paid attention all night long, which is another thing they usually don't do.
Yeah, and he needed somebody to pay attention, because he had a different singer up there every 2 songs, right? So it's...
Yes. And yet I did a Joni Mitchell tribute 3 years ago, I think it was, at the Smith Opera House in Geneva. And that poor kid, he was a good sound guy, but they had the first half of the show, they had all kinds of different musicians on the stage at once, and it was changing every song. And I don't know how he kept up with it. He had a heck of a time trying to do all that. I don't know how it sounded, because I never heard it back.
Yeah, you can't have anybody that does set it and forget it in a show like that.
Yeah,
That's right.
That drives me nuts. Where's the sound guy?
Yeah.
Oh, he's out ordering a pizza.
Yeah. Oh, I was so sad not to have a tape of that show, because people said really great things, and I wanted to hear it back. But it's gone.
That's why I do a lot of that recording on the phone. If you get an app or something, this happens just to be on my phone, but sometimes you can get those recording apps and just hit a button and...
What's yours called, do you know?
It's just HD audio recording. I don't know. It's in the phone. I have no idea.
Oh, cool. All right. I think I got that. Yeah.
It's just a little recorder thing, and it pops up.
Oh, that's a nice one.
And then...
Look at that. You can change things.
Yeah, limiter. It's got some other crap.
Why do I have that on my phone? I recognize the app.
I'm putting that on my phone now.
It's pretty handy. I mean, I have a whole... If you look... I mean, I know we're on a podcast here, but...
What phone is
but
that?
See,
we get
LG.
phone demonstrations.
But see, there's my
on
list.
here.
So I have
Brian
all these,
Lindsay from Iron Smoke.
I have these rehearsals. I have different things.
Oh, Greg, very good.
Yeah.
Good for you. You know how
Billy
to work
B. Open
it.
Jam.
Yeah.
That thing doesn't crash on you. They don't like me.
Well, I'm not
I'm going to
exactly...
hire you as a tester.
I'm an okay tech person, but I'm not as good as some. I mean, it's kind of like what you were saying. If somebody tells me, okay, here's the screens you got to go to, then I can figure the logic out. Because a lot of computer is logic.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, England.
Another country heard from.
See all the tech. We're getting something from London in here. It sounds like she's in the room.
England? Can you hear us, England?
Isn't that amazing?
And we managed to get rid of the delay, but the sound.
That was good.
But seriously, if you if I go to this, it's probably got to have something to do with this drop down, and then you kind of can sort of. I fish my way through so many things, like wow, I did it, yay! You know.
Well, I'm lost completely now. But before the big yellow taxi takes us away, you did this Connie Sings Joni. Can you tell us a little about this?
Yeah.
You will get a highlight at the end. We'll hear a song from it.
Well, the Joni idea thing started in 14 or 13. Somebody came up to me at the little cafe when I was playing one night and said, you know what? You got to do a concert that's singing Joni Mitchell Blue live. And I just looked at him and I went, why? She's done it. You know, why? That was the beginning of all these tribute concerts. They're everywhere now, and I didn't quite get it, but I took his advice, and I said, well, gee, let's see. I went home, and I played the Blue Album, and I figured out the 3 songs on there that I had never learned, and learned them, and did the first one at the Rochester Christian Reformed Church in February of 2015, like 2 weeks before Joni Mitchell had her aneurysm.
Right.
It was bizarre. But anyway, that was a lovely night. Over 300 people came. I was shocked. I didn't understand, but I had a wonderful time. So I did another one the following year, and that's when I asked Gary Holt to come and record it.
Yeah,
so he drags in all his equipment, and we recorded it, and the tracks on this CD here are the ones that I could sort of kind of live with. 5 years later, I went back to the tracks that, a few months ago and said, all right, there's mistakes in every one of these. I really don't think they're all, what should be out there in the world, but come on, you're 70 blah years old and you should put something out. So that's what we came up with. And
it's blue.
And it's blue. Aaron Winters took the picture and we made it blue, and that's that.
I think it's actually a good trend around here because I think we all have our inspirations, and people get to, like we've had the Tom Waits tribute every year. Danny does the Johnny Cash, the George Harrison, and people will they sort of grow. We just put them together. People are like, hey, let's do, and I like John Prine wouldn't be somebody I would call really, we know who he is, but most people probably don't.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And he was unfortunately a casualty of,
one of the first
COVID,
ones.
Yeah. That's so sad.
But, and I think, when they affect people, and we've had the Dylan birthday party how many years?
Oh, God, going back to the 80s.
He's never shown up, though.
Huh?
No.
He's never shown up.
Well, that's just Bob,
Right. He'd croak before he'd show up.
Right.
But I think it's fun.
He'd show up to not speak to anybody.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He'd go by and he'd go, stop, this is horrible.
I like the picture.
I'm waiting for somebody whoever has the guts to do a Captain Beefheart cover.
Oh,
do a Captain Beefheart tribute show. You won't want to play that one, Greg.
I couldn't even tell you what a cat. I mean, I've heard them. I'm just not into that stuff. And actually, you know what? I know people are going to stone me. I'm not really a big Zappa guy. I know people, Zappa, blah, blah. I think his lyrics are stupid.
They're going to stone me.
I don't like all that sarcasm. I love the music.
They're going to stone me more because my view is after his first, I've met Jimmy Carl Black, and he's like his drummer, one of the nicest people I've ever met. Just a great guy. He played actually at the Bop Shop Atrium, the Jack and Jim band. And he would just talk to you all day, tell some. But the thing about Zappa now, I'm going to get killed like you are. After his first few albums, I think he became just a very good comedy album writer.
Yeah, kind of. That's what I mean. It was all that sort of. I mean, I get it. Sometimes you want to be a little cheeky and sarcastic and all that, but it's like, I don't know.
But hey, he signed Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
So there.
Frank always said that he did that stuff just to pay the bills so he could compose, because what he really wanted to do was compose.
True.
Right. And so I think he recorded what sold because he needed to pay the bills. So.
Right. Well, that's probably smart.
But listen to the stuff he composed, and it's epic.
Oh, I know.
It's really.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's what I mean. I love the music, and I'm, obviously Bazio and Vinnie Caliuta and all those guys, and Ruth Underwood. I mean, I love all that. I used to play marimba. I listen to her, and I'm like, holy crap, man.
I saw the Grandmothers of Invention at the 11 Cup. They were a bunch of the members of his band, but they call themselves the Grandmothers now because they're older.
Well, I remember I heard that album in high school, the first one, the Mothers of, where they're wearing the dresses and everything.
I've got the Freak
I didn't
Out
get it.
album.
I was like, what is this stuff? Because I was into rock.
I think the thing is, like, when we're younger, we're into but as you get older, all of a sudden you're more accepting of different music and you realize whatever's good. Because, like, if you would have caught me in high school saying I like country music or something, you'd be, well, what did you smoke last night?
Right.
Yeah, it's different now.
Everything. But what can we expect? Thanks a lot for being on. It's been
Thank you for asking me.
and thanks to my panel here because I'm out of it as usual.
Yeah, it's nice.
Glad to
But
be
anything
here.
else?
happy to be
Anything
here.
else to add? But what are we going to? You're going to be future fixture at the Little, I take it.
Well, whenever, now and then. Let's see. We've got a Friday night, November 3rd, and I think they're doing shows at 6:30 to
6:30 to 8
now.
because I'm going to see the Archive
made it
Ravens
early.
this weekend.
Yeah.
6:30 to 8.
They're doing it
And they're big with
earlier.
the protocols there, I think, too, like with the masks and the COVID vax and stuff, I think.
Yes.
And my view is, like, if you're not for that, don't go, okay? We're not going to argue about vaccine on here, but, you don't want to risk other people, and I don't need to catch, like, cooties from you or whatever.
And the big thing that's coming up in my year is November 19, doing the Joni tribute show at Little Theater 1.
Oh, nice.
Oh, I love that,
With-
too.
Yeah, with Kinla Nelson and Gary Holt.
Are they going to broadcast it at all?
Yeah.
Because I know, like,
I
they
don't
have the
know.
They might, because that's where they have all the in-concert. Well, have somebody film it.
I would love that.
Well, it won't be me, because I don't know what I'm doing, but if
Not
there's anybody
sure who
out
would
there.
do that, but
A lot of people, all you need
might
is a
be
little
asking
camera
for
these
too
days.
much if I ask.
That's a
for
couple
that.
days after my birthday. I'll have to go.
Hey, when's your
Good.
birthday? November
17th.
17. That was my mother's birthday.
Oh, wow. The Scorpio Club.
That's actually a very
October
good.
27.
Yay.
I saw Maybird play there. They played there with a few other bands. It's actually a really sweet venue to play in.
Oh, it's lovely. It's lovely. Yeah, the sound guy.
It's just
nice.
me. I'm old-fashioned, but I love the old idea of going in the theater. You don't know if the
Yep.
Phantom's haunting
Yeah.
it somewhere, going to come out.
Yeah.
I'm going to play the pipe organ now.
All these small theaters, man. Like I went to a show. I saw Government Mule at the State Theater there in Ithaca, and all these little theaters, man. The ones that didn't get torn down, there was a huge resurgence, I think, of those. Just that whole atmosphere
Nice.
and.
I think that's the key, because like with movies now, you can watch them at home, like in theaters. I think people want that little ambiance of the old theaters, and it just like I'll go into some places and go like the new one. Like actually, have you played Stutson Street yet?
Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
I love
nice
that.
space, yeah.
I love it, except the last time I went, whoever forgot to unlock the door, they didn't let us in for like the minute before. He's like, "Oh, I forgot to unlock the door." It's like, I've been standing here for half hour in the line.
That reminds me, I got to get a hold of them. I think I want to buy the
theater.
mix. No, the mix from the set that we did.
Ooh. Oh, you got to buy it?
They
I
do.
think you have to
They
buy
do
it.
record them though. You know
Yeah.
that, obviously.
They mix it all down though and everything.
Paul, have you been there?
No, I haven't been there yet.
It's just a nice theater. It's like an old church.
Yeah, it's nice.
The one side's got the big stage, like your school auditorium type thing, but then it's got the other side is a church with the stained glass windows and the pews,
cool.
Yeah.
so that's where they've been doing the acoustic stuff.
Oh, that's great.
And I guess
We'll
he
have
has
to
a
go.
dance studio in there, and there's like he pays the bills with a lot of other stuff.
So which room is being recorded?
I think the big room,
The-
probably
the-
both.
the
They
black
probably
room?
got it. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
one that's got the
Yeah.
snack bar to the right when you go in, because I've seen like
It's
when
like called
Adriana
the black
played-
room.
The black room, yeah. But these theaters too. I mean, they're built for projection. I mean, they were built for plays. They were built for speaking. They're not. So you've got the natural, you got the wood, and you got the curtains, and it's like the perfect place, like the German House. That's the
German
perfect
House
place to
is
play.
always a great venue.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and I think that's
they
the
didn't build
beauty of
those things like
Rochester.
that by accident.
And I think the beauty of Rochester, too, is we have such a great local music community. I think, like, on Facebook, like, when we did Fred thing, I'm like, we have, like, 200 mutual friends.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we're all, like, and I, like, it's like the
Funny.
6 degrees of, like, on this show, where, like, it's circles where I know somebody, they know somebody.
Rochester's 2 degrees.
Yeah.
It's never 6. It's always like 2, maybe 3.
It's like I saw Paul at Alyssa's show. It's like, oh, I know the drummer.
Yeah, I work with the drummer.
Yeah.
Cool.
Everybody knows
Funny.
Greg, of course.
Yeah.
It's like, didn't he play in the Moody Blues and fill in that one time?
No.
The what?
Did you play in the Moody Blues and fill in the one time?
No. The
Okay.
Moody Blues?
Yeah.
No.
I thought you did.
In the Moody Blues? No.
You wish.
Oh, did I wish I could? Oh,
we're all
I'm
friends,
not
yeah.
awake here again. Well, but I'll tell you what. Debbie, my girlfriend's aunt, just did a gig. She went to Connecticut. She's in this ELO tribute band. Her aunt,
wow.
And she plays violin. And she also plays it. She works for Disney and stuff in Orlando. But so she sent me a little clip, and they were doing the "It's a Loving Thing," that song. But it's like really cool, man. They got the whole band, and they got this big string section, and they got the whole thing.
Suppose they came along like a few centuries ago. Would they have done the Gaslight Orchestra because they wouldn't have electric power?
That's probably
Cool. On that one, thanks again for being on. And where can we find you? You're not a big techie, I take it, but we can
I'm
like
so
catch
bad.
you.
I even had to undo. See, that's the wrong word. Take down my website a couple of years ago because it got
Decommission.
It got so I don't know, broken links that I couldn't edit it anymore.
Oh, wow.
Again, I had the list of things to do that used to work for me, and suddenly it wouldn't work, and I got tired of it, and I said, you know what? Maybe 3 people a year buy a CD from this website being here. I don't think it's worth it. So I find it easy to use Facebook.
Oh, I've never been to this show's website,
So-
but I guess we have one that shows how advanced I am.
Yeah, we should go check it out.
So just Facebook,
Yeah,
Connie
so
Deming.
Facebook's the only thing I find that I can manage so far. And yeah, Connie Deming, Deming. And what else could I tell you? I don't know.
You
what
want to play
tell you.
track. We have the Connie Sings Joni, and we wanted to play A Case of You, number 6.
Yeah.
Is it special for you for some reason, or did you just pick it randomly?
Well, I think that's been my... I don't know how to pick a favorite Joni Mitchell song because it's like a gold mine.
Depends
The
what day of the
deeper you
week.
dig, the better it gets. And it's so multi-layered and big, from the small to the big, lyrically, musically. And so I was given a dumpster dulcimer that was falling apart, and I learned to play A Case of You on the dulcimer, but I could never get the dulcimer tuned properly, so I gave up trying to play that. But people used to say, you should sing Case of You playing the dulcimer. But so I painstakingly learned to play it on the piano, and I have no trouble with the piano. There it sits in my house. I could just sit down at it and play it. So that's track number 6.
So cool. Thanks a lot, Connie, for coming
Thank
on.
you.
Thanks for our experts and Greg.
Yeah.
And thank you all the way
Wait
from
a
London, Gil. and our clear connection from London over there, Gil.
Yeah.
Sounds like she's in the room. Thanks a lot, and see you later. Here's Connie.
Cheers.
Thanks a lot, Rob.
Just before our love got lost, you said, I am as constant as a northern star. And I said, constantly in the darkness, where's that at? If you want me, I'll be in the bar. On the back of a cartoon coaster, in the blue TV screen light, I drew a map of Canada, oh Canada, with your face sketched on it twice. Oh, you're in my blood like holy wine. You taste so bitter and so sweet. Oh, still be on my feet. I would still be on my feet. Oh, I am a lonely painter. I live in a box of paints, and I'm frightened by the devil, and yet I'm drawn to those who ain't afraid. And I remember that time you told me, you said love is touching souls. Well, surely you touch mine, 'cause part of you pours out of me in these lines from time to time. Oh, you're in my blood like holy wine. You taste so bitter but so sweet. Oh, I could drink a case of you, darling. Still I'd be on my feet. I'd still be on my feet. I met a woman, she had a mouth like yours. She knew your life, she knew your devils and your deeds. And she said, go to him, stay with him if you can, but be prepared to bleed. Oh, but you are in my blood like holy wine. You're so bitter, baby, but so sweet. Oh, I could drink a case of you. Oh, darling, still I'd be on my feet. I'd still